What's going on, guys? This video is all about the subfloor that I stuck in Matt's boat. It's right there. Okay, and if you want to check out the playlist, I think the playlist is somewhere up here. Somewhere. But it's, check it out. This is from, I'm trying to make this build the most detailed, step-by-step. You know, you see everything done kind of in a sped-up version, but it's all done. And I'm trying to make this the most complete playlist for this boat. And I'm subsequently putting in zero framing. You guys haven't seen it yet, but it's there. Framing's everything. I'll put a video talking about just how, you know, every time I try to make a video talking about how exceptional framing is, I go on this off tangent. I never get done with the video because it's terrible. But one of these days I'm gonna get it, and it'll be a video that won't put people to sleep. That's the whole key. But anyways, check out the subfloor. It's changed the way we do these boats. And I know a lot of you guys have V-hulls that are not like the Gregors with all the integrated spines running down the bottom to drain out water, which is why I didn't have to make a subfloor in those. No subfloors in those, just foam. And then the foam was a subfloor underneath the main deck, and then we had a tiny little subfloor for the cockpit and the Valcos and the Gregors. Obviously you can't do that in all the V-hull boats. We didn't do that in Ben's boat, and we couldn't do that to neither Matt's new Illumicraft or my Smokercraft. They're definitely two different boats. But we just have the ribs that kind of run like all the way down like this, and they create water barriers between the ribs to where the water can't get over, and they have that tiny little opening on the bottom for the gussets. That's the only way the water can actually drain, but those get clogged notoriously. So in order for those to actually have any room to for the water to at least evaporate and vent out and not start to mold everything up, you need a subfloor. So we did a subfloor for Matt's boat, and there's many different ways you can do it, but this is how we did it, so check it out. We took rough measurements at first to get the basic premise of what it was actually going to fit inside the boat. We cut those little side panels off, kept them for later, and we'll show you why. But here we are trying to just get it in, size it in, see what we're going to do, trace out where the notches are for the ribs, and then cut those things out. Otherwise it's not going to fit at all. We drilled little holes in there to make sure the bit for the saw will go in smoothly. Cut all that out. Too much crap everywhere. Slide back. Oh, we forgot to cut the back. Okay, so after we cut the back notches and we made sure the bore is going to fit in how like it was going to, then we traced the little edges where we obviously couldn't see. We kind of followed that dirty, nasty water line that's stained in the boat from eons of just sitting there. Once we got that level, then we walked down the H-channel spine. So we're checking it here. The problem with the H-channel spine is it's not like a tapering triangular spine. It's just one big spine, and obviously that fails because the boat tilts down as the boat tapers into a V. And so we had to stick another piece of like a 1x2 stud. We ran ribs, and that's what we do to level it out. We took those pieces of wood that we cut off to fit the initial piece of wood in the boat to begin with, and then we just screwed them on and silicone the sides to use them as supports. We made sure that all went in there and that all dried before we painted the bottom several coats of oil-based enamel to preserve the best way we could, since we didn't have resin at this time.
Yeah, don't touch the box. It's wet. Here, just get the outside as you can, and then Daddy will get, or Matt will get the inside, because Matt's like taller than all of us. All over that whole page.
Actually, this is Dominic.
We're gonna just keep that a secret. This coat is gonna be exceptional because we never even gave it a chance to dry. We just kept letting the wet paint soak in, and then we kept soaking it and soaking it and soaking it. So there is a nice adequate soakage of paint.
Here we are sticking in foam, and the only place it's actually gonna fit. It's not really for rigidity, it's for reserve buoyancy. And I did want to run the initial subfloor over with no foam, but because Matt's insane and does terrible things you should never do with a tiny boat, I want this boat to be kind of sink proof, and that's one of the best ways I know to do it. The next big part is how to remount the stock live well, because that's the only thing we're actually going to keep out of the boat stock. And so it had a bottom fitting to drain, and so we this is me, I don't know how you guys would do it, but I just did a mock-up drawing of exactly how it looked and then cut it out, and it worked. It was insane.
There it is, baby man.
If you're wondering why I'm finicking with it and pausing and stopping, it's because I'm trying to make the most supreme cut I can without terribly blowing through the bottom of the boat and splintering it up, because that's what will happen if you just drill right through with a hole saw on a piece of wood like this.
Well, that was nice of it. Heh! Look at that! What you guys got to say about that? That is perfect!
There was one more hole I had to saw out, and that was the one for the plumbing, because the plumbing ran through to connect to the fitting for the fill. So that's what we're doing here. And then we preserved it with silicone, because obviously it was after we painted it, so it had to be re-preserved.
So we'll be using 3 different types of glue, because this is what I have. I'm trying to save the brand new one for like the hard stuff.
Okay, so how we're gonna do this big panel, and I don't know if I've ever really done a video showing you how to do all this, but we're just scraping it out. Get gloves, because I swear, carpet glue, it's on your, it's just a texture on your hands. It's disgusting. It feels like nothing else. I don't know what to say about it other than you just need gloves. And plus, it doesn't ever want to leave your hand once it's on there. But I'm just scraping out the remaining. That bucket's at least like 6-7 months old, just lingering. This one, for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just kiss that stuff goodbye. Isn't that good?
My plan when this stuff is all out there is just to trowel it all up. And I'm hoping these 3 lingering cans of stuff is gonna be enough. Spreading it evenly, the trowel I have has these little grooves of teeth, which spread the glue much more evenly than a non-toothed trowel. You can use whatever you want, but that thing was $1 or something at Lowe's, and it's the easiest, simplest way to do it. Now we don't want to forget the most important part. We are taking all the glue we can and we are just running it into the sides. So the sides have been caked over with paint, and then I think again with silicone, and then again with the glue, and that really does seal up the grain edges and get it going. Once we have all that done, we have a pretty thick layer over the wood and we are ready for the carpets, getting it on there. When you're laying down a carpet on freshly coated glue, I like laying it on a little early. I know a lot of people like to wait till it tacks up. I feel like because the glue will actually get into the rubber backing of this carpet, it's good to put it on early, and that way it gets in there. But obviously you don't want to put a whole lot of pressure on it, so we waited till it dried for a little bit before we flipped it over on the star. And right here I'm putting in a star into the circles. This is how you do this if you have odd edges. And then obviously in the other edges I kind of triangle cut them, so later on I'll show you exactly why. But here we are beginning the stapling process, and you'll see how we fold it into the notches. Kind of just fold each of the little sections over on that little triangle and staple. If you can tell, the wood, see how the paint bled through and you can still see the grain, you know, the kind of the beige part of the wood. That means we need to hit it again, and this is the bottom, so it's super important. And I'm going to give the bottom as many layers after we kind of get all the carpet attached as possible. So here we are giving it one last real thick coat, making sure that when we put this thing down, you don't see anything on that wood but gray. No bleed through. Especially in that front part. That front part was exposed to the sun, so it's going to soak in a lot more paint than the rest of the wood.
Instant rod locker.
Okay, so this worked out really well, everyone. It fit in there like a glove. It was nice and firm and steady, and the best thing about it is you can bolt and screw anything you want to it, but no actual worry about hurting the hull. That was the best advantage. We actually were able, this is a very beginning process of the whole framing deal. We're kind of just mapping it out and laying it out and trying to envision what we're going to do. But we already put in that little wall section for the rod locker, and that went in like nothing. The easiest rod locker wall section I ever had to do. So definitely adding a subfloor to your boat if you have the room and you have the need for it, it's definitely cool. And again, just there are many different ways on how you can do a subfloor. Check this out. This is Kel Littles. This is one of my patrons. This is how he was doing his subfloor, and that's a pretty consistent variance to how my smoker craft is. His boat's also huge though, so I don't know if you can get away with that in a little 14-footer and then that not sacrifice some other things, but that's something to think about. We could have ran independent spines down the middle to give the entire structure stability, but we just didn't do it. We instead ran adjacent panels that we cut off the side to fit in. But I think in terms of how we were able to frame everything and put everything together on it after we had the subfloor, so much better than having to worry about drilling through the bottom of the hull and worrying about whether or not the rivet was going to tweak and bend and then start to leak and cause leaking problems. You don't have to worry about that if you had a subfloor. And that goes for any of the boats. It just was a little chore. Now, if I didn't reuse the H channel running down the bottom to kind of be the support, I would have ran a tapered wood. I would have just tapered like a wood, I mean all the way from the front to the back, like a wood stud, and I would have preserved it or resin coated it, and that would have been it. I could have done that. Or you could have also just made your own aluminum deal in a better way to where it tapered. We just tried to reuse the H channel. That was the only thing in the boat that lasted. It's the H channel. Everything else was poof, disintegrated. So that's where we're at, guys. I hope this was helpful to you and at least gives you some ideas. Maybe you can spur off and make different things. But definitely a subfloor changes the way we were able to do with this boat. We were able to do epic things. Stay tuned for the zero framing video. It's going to be epic. Gen 5 is coming.